Here we are at the end of the 6 p.m. turn, and the English have, second division, have continued their assault on the French lines around here, really forcing back and, in some cases, routing and eliminating some of the battalions of Welles' brigade. In response, what you see here is what is this? This is Pepin's division, the second division of Gerard's corps. They've had to remember earlier they had sort of shifted in here, hoping to strike in the west side of the Allied lines, but they've now drawn their line out to the east to cover this gap and really successfully, I think I can say, stop the British. So the British, that little sortie over the last 40 minutes or so, has forced the French line back well away from Albuera. The French were placed along here, and they were just really holding this area as Gerard's corps were activating in the north. But what's happened here is Welles' brigade has scattered. You can see some of the skirmishing units here. This is Well here. He has a few routed units behind the line. He has lost 2 units, I think, 2 battalions in a series of assaults, and it's just opened up that gap. That's not to mention the impact on Vare's grenadiers around here. There are now only 2 very weak grenadier battalions left, 2 increments in total. And they're being harassed by the skirmishers, those British skirmishers. So, look, I don't think the British can continue with this push, but certainly it has checked the French advance and has forced Gerard's corps to really stretch out. Having said that, this artillery, not much, but it's doing a lot of damage. We've now got the Spanish in the firing line over here in the west. That was about it. There were no cavalry activations this turn, just strong British movement against those French lines, pushing them away from Albuera. Now, however, the British 5th and 7th Brigades are a bit scattered, and their main concern now is recovering order and making sure the French don't then renew their attack against Albuera. Okay, so we're just at the end of the 6 o'clock turn. It is 6:20. We'll see how things go. Here we are at the end of the 6:20 p.m. turn, and the French have really counterattacked. Their cavalry has really led the way around here. 2 separate groups have crossed that Arroyo de Valdesevilla and are causing havoc among these low morale Spanish units. You may recall there was a decent Spanish line here. It no longer exists. There are a few Spanish battalions that managed to form square, some Portuguese up here, but the French really pushing hard into these Allied lines, and behind the lines here they're really even picking off a few of these routed Spanish units just to stop them coming back into the fight. And unfortunately, as I said earlier, they've pushed this Allied cavalry away, and they're not in a position or within range to respond. The infantry is also getting involved, so they also disordered, I think, Portuguese or maybe Spanish unit here that the French charged, following up more with some fresh infantry. These guys are very slow to recover from disorder, but they'll be getting involved in a moment. Artillery doing some damage again this turn, which is good for the French. And down here, this is Pepin's men forcing the British skirmishers back. So, the French very quickly regaining control of the situation and renewing their offensive against Albuera. Now it's end of the 6:20 turn, so it's around 6:40. But with this French cavalry now within roughly a kilometre or so of Albuera and threatening the flanks of the British lines here, I think it's going to be tough for the British to hold out. They're going to face some tough decisions to either pull back to Albuera, try and get their cavalry involved. They really can't hit the French now that Pepin and Gerard have very quickly reorganised their men. All right, and the French and the Portuguese continuing to hit at each other. I guess a mutual exchange this turn. Some British skirmishers eliminated a French battalion, but the French also eliminated some Portuguese. All right, so there we are. Okay, it's the end of the 6:40 p.m. turn, and this final French push on Albuera is gaining momentum. Gerard activated his corps, really just the western half around this area, and again launched a series of assaults, driving hard through the centre here to clear out a few of those Spanish squares that had formed. Some good resistance here by, I think, some Portuguese and maybe a Spanish there. More French cavalry crossing the Arroyo out in the west. And a panic has spread throughout the Allied lines. You can see the British 4th Division have really just pulled back in tight around Albuera. King's German Legion has quickly shifted out to the far right, and they're just trying to form a very tight defensive circle around Albuera. But the way things are going, it won't stand for too much longer. This Spanish square here is down to 1 increment. These are pretty full strength men in Gerard's division. These are the guys who were caught up behind the line in that fire exchange with the Spanish Guard, and they had the upper hand in that. It just took a long time to wear them down, but as a result they're mostly full strength. I think they've just taken 1 hit, but a 6 there. Some of these guys behind the lines are very reduced, down to 3, not too bad. The point is they can still maintain that momentum and continue the advance. Now this cavalry has actually a very interesting thing happened. This is actually Spanish hussars. They came in an almost suicidal attempt just to slow down the French. They are outnumbered. There's only 3 increments here, and they're outnumbered. This is a unit they routed at full strength. What have we got here? Spanish dragoons, and they rolled 66 on the assault table to rout that already disordered French dragoon unit. So, yeah, Spanish in amongst the French there, just trying to slow them down. So here we have what will be maybe the final British stand around Albuera. Who knows? They may be able to hold out against combined French infantry and cavalry. We'll find out soon enough, because that cavalry is very close, as is the French infantry. Just the combination of the infantry and the cavalry working together against the squares and so forth is very effective. And the artillery not too far away. They've slowly been pushing up each turn. All right, so that's the end of the 6:40 p.m. turn. We're now just on 7 p.m. around Albuera.